Well, blessings, everybody. This is Dale. Thank you so much for joining with me today on the Word Podcast. We are in the 8th chapter of Proverbs, and what we've seen in the previous 2 episodes, I think, is that it's speaking of wisdom, and Solomon personifies wisdom. Wisdom actually says, I, wisdom, then starts describing all the things that wisdom has done. From the point of view, I've done it from the personal pronoun. We pick it up at verse 22. Now, listen carefully to these. Okay, I can just read them. We just sort of read over it, and it'd be fine. It'd be wonderful. There's things here for us to consider. Okay, verse 22. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. So what does wisdom say here? Wisdom is saying that the Lord, this is the Most High God, possessed wisdom at the beginning of his work, or his way, as the King James New American Standard says it. Well, the Lexham says it too. So what is meant by his way? Well, it means the road, the manner of what he's doing, the journey. It means his work, what he's done. In this case, his creation. The Lord possessed wisdom at the beginning of his way, beginning of his work, before the first acts of old. Before the Lord spoke anything into existence. And that word acts can also be translated as work, or something that is made. Before he made anything, he had wisdom. So what does that reveal to us? That everything that has been made with wisdom. Verse 23. Ages ago, I was set up at the first, before the beginning of the earth. So that tells us something. Here the ESV says ages before. Okay, that's all right. The Lexham says from eternity, I was set up from the first, from the beginning of earth. I sort of like that better. And New American Standard and King James pick up on that. They say, I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning. We think of everlasting from a point of our existence forward. We think of eternity from our point of our existence forward within a timeline. And God's not limited by the timeline that he created. That timeline also goes back. So from eternity, he was set up. There's some point in time back in eternity, because there was a setting up, but we are not told when, and we don't know when that was. It may be eternal, which is a wild thought to think about. But he does say this: it was before the beginning of the earth, or as the New American Standard says, from the earliest times of the earth. So before God spoke anything into existence that we experience within this earthly creation, wisdom was there. Verse 24. When there was no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water. So he's going to give us just insight into what he means, that, before the earth had a beginning, that he was there. So before there was any depths of the sea, before there was any springs abounding with water, verse 25. Before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills, I was brought forth. Let me pause here for a moment. Notice, the mountains have been what? Shaped. The word actually means settled, to be planted, to put down, to sink down. And you think, oh, what would they be sink down upon? Well, we're about to see in a verse that he provides foundation. The mountains are on a foundation. So before these mountains were settled, before they were shaped, before the hills, wisdom says this: I was brought forth. Verse 26. Before he made the earth with his fields, or the first dust of the world. So he's just driving home this point, that before all of this kind of stuff, I was there. Now listen to this, verse 27. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when he established the foundations of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit, so that the waters might not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him, like a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and delighting in the children of man. That's all one sentence right there. All the way down to verse 31. Where did I start? Right there. Verse 25, was it? Somewhere like that? No, verse 27. So notice he established the earth. He describes that. And in 27, he says, when he established the heavens. Now pay close attention here, folks. Notice it's plural. Heavens. I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep. And that word deep means like the abyss, a deep place. It depends on the context, you know. God drew a circle. He inscribed a circle. King James says he set a compass upon the face. All of them said that he drew a circle. This is really, really, really important. The Lord drew a circle. And you see this throughout Scripture. And when you start seeing other things within Scripture, you're going to find out, as I slowly just sort of allude to things, you know, notice I haven't been forthright with some of this stuff. But over the next few months, there'll be more and more opportunity for us to see some things here. And I just want you to see what the Lord did. He established the heavens. Wisdom was there. He drew a circle upon the face of the deep. When he made firm the skies above. Made firm, that word depends on the context. Again, it means strong, alert, courageous, brave. Okay, and when speaking of a human like that, yeah. In this context right here, it means bold, solid, hard. Solid and hard. When he made solid and hard the skies above, that is really important. And I'll tell you right now, we're all going to have some cognitive dissonance with some of this stuff because what that means is we have been told things our whole lives. We thought we knew the true nature of some things, and we really don't. For one reason, the Word tells us something different. That's actually reason enough, okay? But then for other reasons, when you sit there and just observe, when you just think through it, okay, when you just reason through it. And there's things that I've wondered about. How long have I wondered about? One particular thing I've wondered about for 50 years. For 50 years. And things I was taught, and I mean, at the college level, all this stuff. And because, as you know, I've told you, I had a science background. I was a chemistry major. And these things I was taught, I would just think, how can that be? How can it be what they say that we're seeing? It doesn't work that way. I mean, it's just that kind of stuff is real simple. It just doesn't work. I'll give you a quick example. If you don't have something to push against, then you're not going to be able to push yourself along. You think, what are you talking about? I'll tell you more later, okay? But just that kind of thing. You just observe it. So he made the skies firm when he established the fountains of the deep. So the Lord established what? Fountains, which means strength of the springs. Fountains of the deep. The Lord is the one who did that. Tell you what, I went to stop here in the middle of a sentence. My time's up. I knew I'd do this. Okay, we're going to look at this next episode. Read this and see what the Lord reveals to you. Again, I'm Dale. I'll see y'all then. Goodbye.